I inquired about her plans for the summer, noting that I was surprised by her response. I inquired of my 19-year-old daughter, who had recently initiated a daily yoga practice, whether she planned to continue this activity throughout the summer. My daughter reprimanded me, stating that it was not a waste of time and that it helped her relax and release tension in her body. Amy and I share a close relationship, and I inquired about the nature of my daughter's summer plans, noting her interest in yoga. She countered by expressing her belief that it was not a waste of time, citing its relaxation and stress-relieving benefits. Amy and I share a close relationship. She is 19, and I am 36. My wife is a sales representative in the city, and her work commitments keep her away from home from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Amy has expressed her appreciation for the attention I give to her body. Despite the absence of any explicit discussion, there was an atmosphere of freedom between us, which likely contributed to our open approach to making love. I am 36, and my wife is a sales representative in the city, working from 7 to 7 o'clock. Amy appreciates the attention I pay to her body. Although we didn't hide it, there was an atmosphere of freedom between us. That's probably why making love wasn't such a taboo topic for us. My daughter must have realized that I know about her orientation, but she never misses an opportunity to tease me. In fact, I was just getting her attention. I'd say it's just harmless flirtation. I pretended to be serious, rubbing my jaw and looking up like a man trying to remember the past. In my youth, there was a very effective and simple solution to the problem you mentioned. Oh yeah, and what is it called? It's actually too easy. It's more of a technique for girls, sorry ladies, women. If you want, just because women have a higher performance score with it, it sounds good. What is it? She smiled. I gave a slight chuckle, pretending to be amused. What kind of father am I, instructing you about discharge? Wait until the guys in the pub find out about it. Don't you dare tell anyone about this. Wait, you don't go to any pub. She grinned at me. It's a pity. I think I'll start one of these days. I found myself slightly amused. What kind of father am I? I teased. I'm actually teaching you about discharge. Wait until the guys in the pub find out about it. Don't you dare tell anyone about this. Wait, you don't go to any pub. She smiled at me. It's a pity. I think I'll start one of these days. Yes, and you can stand outside until you get the smell of rum off your body. She looked at me with her blue eyes. The idea was accepted. As for the technique, it's actually too simple. I'm almost ashamed that I have to mention it. Stop talking nonsense and say it, please. Okay, impatient minx. The concept is clear. Focus on the fundamentals. The method is straightforward. Engage in physical intimacy. I will inquire about your subscription to the channel and request that you express your approval. This task is not overly demanding, but it is beneficial for both of us. We proceed. I was on the verge of yelling at the top of my voice, as the nearest neighbor was more than 50 meters away. I was secure. The pillow narrowly missed me. I would like to invite you to consider becoming a subscriber to this channel. It is not a difficult task, but it would be greatly appreciated. I was almost screaming at the top of my voice, but the nearest neighbor was more than 50 feet away. I was safe. The pillow missed me by a mile and instead crashed into a crystal jar of sugar on the dining table. A loud crash made my daughter jump to her feet and say, "What have you done?" She accused me, but she was smiling. Did I do it? It was your throw. Well, you made me throw it at you, didn't you? She stuck her tongue out at me. Really? Rather than addressing the situation directly, she attempted to find a suitable response, but ultimately chose to proceed with the next course. She laughed, and I looked at her in surprise. I bit my tongue hard for a moment. It was the most defiant thing I had ever said to her, and even a stranger would have been shocked by my comment. In hindsight, I recognized that my comment was inappropriate, and I probably deserved a few punches. However, it's not something you can scoop up with a spoon and eat, Daddy. Besides, the taste should be completely different. But I'm sure you should know that if she was referring to my life with my wife, I should have made it clear. Very funny, Dad, but I must admit that I probably deserved a couple of punches. It's not something you can scoop up with a spoon and eat, Daddy. Besides, the taste should be completely different. However, I'm sure you should know that if she was referring to my life with my wife, I should have made it clear. I could swear that a couple of nights ago, I heard a lot of noise in your bedroom. It was just your father. I waved my hand. Your mother was making love to me at that time. Okay, this was not an everyday conversation in our family, but I'm sure you have an idea of the negligence that my daughter and I have shown. A few nights ago, I overheard a disturbance in your bedroom. It was your father. I gestured for you to come closer, and your mother was engaging in intimate relations with me at that time. I understand that this was not a typical conversation in our family, but I believe you can discern the negligence that my daughter and I have shown in our relationship. My daughter interjected with a playful smile. I changed the subject. What is the problem, honey? What kind of girl is this beautiful? Like you, looking for some relief elsewhere? What do you mean? I'm disappointed. I got the impression that all you had to do was... My daughter interjected, her tone laced with a touch of mischief. Oh, my mistake, she said. Daddy, it's too hot to go out. What's the problem, honey? She continued, her tone lightening as she attempted to deflect. What kind of girl is this beautiful, like you, looking for some relief elsewhere? She asked, her tone playful. What do you call it? She added, her tone shifting to one of inquiry. I'm disappointed. I got the impression that all you had to do to get a boyfriend was whistle, and voila, lots of boys to choose from. Her tone shifted to one of lightheartedness as she continued. If there was a compliment in my address somewhere, Daddy, thank you. Her tone shifted to one of contemplation as she paused, seemingly considering an answer, if there was one at all. Finally, she continued, her tone serious. She began, I am aware of the existence of medications, but I depleted my supply a week ago. The local pharmacy has scheduled the delivery of the next batch, but it will not arrive until Monday. Consequently, my fertility level is currently as high as it has ever been. It would be possible to purchase them in the city, but I am too unmotivated to drive all the way back. Additionally, the weather is too hot to go out. She began, I am aware that there are medications available, but I ran out of them a week ago. The local pharmacy is expecting the next delivery, but they won't arrive until Monday. As a result, I am currently as fertile as I have ever been in my life. You could purchase them in the city, but I don't want to drive all the way back. It's too lazy to go anywhere, and it's too hot to go out. Besides, I can't always look for a man when I need to release some of my stress. After all, I don't think it's going to work. You're right. It's not a long-term solution, but now you're telling me that yoga gives you the same feeling as fatigue only in certain moments. Daddy, that's nonsense. I disagree. It's not like that. I suppose you have a better plan. The wheels turned, and the predicted result was planned. Her eyes were sparkling, and the first stage, involving her undivided attention, was crowned with success. Well, go on. We don't have any secrets from each other, do we, dear? I chose a seat across from her and made myself comfortable. I proceeded with my plan, anticipating her curiosity and eagerness to learn more. I selected a seat across from her and made myself comfortable. I recognized her growing interest and decided to capitalize on it. I knew that if I wanted to succeed, I had to bring it to a climax. I began with a massage, which is a well-known method for satisfying a person's curiosity. I continued with a slow, sensual massage, which always helps her eyes express. Amy's eyes conveyed a mixture of disappointment, disbelief, and a hint of surprise. She appeared to think I was joking, saying, The peak expectation has subsided. You don't believe me. I see. I replied, Of course not. Damn it. I thought you were going to tell me a great secret. Amy then suggested that we settle our dispute. Amy could never resist a challenge, especially when she felt so strongly that she would win. Do you want me to make it for you? She stared at me for a long time, intently, apparently waiting for a punchline or a hint of a smile that would tell her that I was joking. I stared into her eyes, banishing Amy always accepted challenges, especially when she felt strongly that she would prevail. Would you like me to make it for you? She inquired, her gaze fixed intently on me, seemingly anticipating a humorous response or an expression of agreement that would reassure her of my sincerity. After a full minute, she nodded in agreement. Whatever we think is the best approach, we both accept it, she said. You mean you're going to demonstrate to me that massage is superior to yoga? Indeed, and if I can prove to you, as I am certain I will, that a massage performed by trained professionals is the optimal choice. Amy stood up, her eyes alight with mischief. She lifted her shirt, a mischievous gleam in her eyes. Are you sure you can? She asked. Whatever we think is the best way, we both accept it. You mean you're going to prove to me that massage is better than yoga? And if I prove to you, and I certainly will, that a massage performed with trained hands is the best, then you should always choose a massage when you want some relaxation. Agreed. But how do we do that? This was the decisive moment, the highlight. She had been expecting it. The simple. First, we do it your way. Then we do it my way. Then we compare them. She gave me another surprised look. It's simple. Choice. When seeking relaxation, massage is the obvious choice. However, how can this be achieved? This was the pivotal moment. The highlight had anticipated it. The approach is straightforward. First, we do it your way, then we do it my way, and then we compare. She gave me another surprised look. The simple, right? Why do you always have to simplify everything? Why do we need to complicate everything? Oh, you understand, my dear father. So when do we start? How about right now? Amy stood up, a mischievous gleam in her eyes. She caught the hem of the shirt and lifted it to hip level. Are you sure you can? Amy's tone was teasing, but firm. Are you sure you can handle this old man? She asked. I'm sure I can. I've seen quite a few knockouts in my time. I don't think you can offer anything new, I replied sarcastically. You're right. There is nothing new in this body. In one fell swoop, the shirt was thrown off. I offered my help. I inquired about the possibility of assisting her, to which she acquiesced. I proceeded to her side, observing her from a rear perspective. Her physique was notably alluring, with her tan legs exhibiting a level of attractiveness that equaled the front. Amy lowered her arms to her sides when my hands contacted her shoulder. She remained silent until I reached the edge of her shorts, at which point Amy pulled away and informed me that it was my turn. I exhaled audibly, which prompted my daughter to giggle. She inquired, "Is it your turn?" I was granted permission to observe her body for approximately 15 seconds. She raised her hands to the back of her head and then reclined next to me, allowing me to hear her breathing slightly more clearly. I instructed myself to wait with my eyes closed until I heard her breathing take on a steady rhythm. If there was one thing I wanted to do more than anything in the world, it was to make love to my daughter, and I intended to make it memorable for her. I thought she was deep. I decided to take a moment to collect my thoughts. The primary objective of yoga is to overcome shyness and embrace one's true self. If one becomes overly shy merely upon being observed, then they have already failed. My daughter opened her eyes and winked at me. "Oh, now you're a guru too," she teased. She opened her eyes and winked at me. "You're a guru now?" she asked, shaking her head. "You're right. I can't concentrate while you're looking at me, staring at me. I think it counts as a failure. So what if we try my method now?" She hesitated for only a second before nodding approvingly. "I can add that with some enthusiasm, but I wasn't going to complain. Let's move." I proceeded to the third stage, which required the use of an ironing board and table. I inquired about the availability of the dining table, noting its width and size as factors that might limit its suitability for a full central massage. I emphasized the importance of easy access to all areas of the body for the massage to be effective. I suggested the ironing board as a suitable option. I corrected the issue so that she could hang her legs and arms by her sides. Before she could say anything else, I rushed into the pantry and carried the table back. I set it up in the middle of the living room and then motioned for my daughter to come over. Without saying a word, Amy came up to me. I started at the back. I addressed the situation by correcting her posture, ensuring that her legs and arms were at her sides. I proceeded to the pantry and returned with the table, setting it in the center of the living room. Without any verbal communication, I gestured for my daughter to approach. Amy came closer, and I began by gently rubbing the back of her head with my thumbs. I assure you that I was not teasing, and as I mentioned, my intention was to use her. Her defenses had weakened, and I was determined not to miss this opportunity to take advantage of her. I then collapsed at the foot of the table, and my daughter followed me. Are you certain? I continued to rub her head, using my thumbs to gently massage the skin. As I mentioned previously, I intended to use this opportunity to have a child with my daughter. Her defenses had weakened, and I was determined not to miss this chance. I collapsed at the foot of the table, and my daughter followed. Are you certain? You want a baby from your dear daddy? Darling? In short, yes. I want to have children with my father, in the plural. As you know, I never waste my time when I'm doing something important. A few hours later, after 2 more sessions, we were still in the living room. The carpet was in disarray. It was about 5 o'clock in the evening. Although my daughter complained that she was too tired to take another walk with her father, she didn't mind when I started getting down to business again. Well, you'll have to thank me for all the help I've given. I'll do it. I will definitely do it. You can bet on that. Funny though, said a voice from the doorway. Amy and I froze. It was my wife, Emma. Mom, Emma. John. Amy. My wife imitated our frightened screams. I don't think you have a good explanation for this, and I was surprised to see an ironing board in the middle of our living room, and I had no idea why my mother's crystal jar was broken. Amy wanted to get up, but Emma asked her to stay. Amy, you need to explain yourself on other issues. It was more than a little awkward trying to explain something to my wife, considering that I was lying on the floor. I let it slip that I hadn't planned all this. The shy look my daughter and I exchanged was enough of an answer. My wife is somewhat dramatic, so she's already expressed her perspective on the situation. Since you've already considered all the points of hindsight, it would be illogical to ask you to stop, and I don't even want to think about the possibility of pregnancy. Unfortunately, it seems the only remaining option is to impose a 2-week suspension on the 2 of you, although I doubt any of you will appeal this decision. Amy shook her head. I followed his example. Emma smiled at us. Good. I might have a tour this weekend, so I hope I don't. Due to your inability to maintain composure, we were compelled to take you to the police station. The situation you created was in poor taste, and it is evident that you were not able to control your actions. I observed the blush spreading across Amy's face under her mother's supervision. It would be advisable for you to take a shower as well, as you appear to be in need of it. I concurred, and, in full view of my wife, I picked up our daughter and carried her up the stairs. I heard my wife shout from downstairs, and we almost missed dinner that night.